we said, setup-wise for me was pretty good. I mean, alignment was a smidgen out, okay, but nothing really to worry about, okay. The main issue for me now is on this left-hand side. The club was going back, sort of quite pushing out with the arms, and the lower half was getting very active there, okay. So the club hadn't even gone sort of chest down, your left heel sort of moving off the ground there. As you go back, your hips have turned a long way, no real sort of hinge with the wrist now. Big shoulder turn for a 9-9 when you actually get to your full top of the backswing.
This is original.
This is your original.
Right,
this is your
okay.
before. This is your before swing with the 9.
Yeah.
Okay, so shoulders have gone through like almost like 110.
Yeah.
Hips have gone through about 60 or 70. Left foot's off the ground. Club's gone across the line, just way too far. No control with that shot as you come back down the golf ball. Okay, what we said to you, just try and sort of maintain that left leg being a little bit more stable. It's going to move. It's not going to stay completely still, obviously, because you've got to make a backswing.
Yeah.
All we're looking for is a 90-degree shoulder turn and a 90-degree wrist hinge, which you'll have at the top there. Okay, so if we look back as the club goes here now, and you swing back, so you can see your head sort of staying in a good position there. If I sort of put that to the middle of your head there, head's rotating nicely around itself, 90-degree shoulder turn, 90-degree wrist hinge. So there's your sort of backswing there, spot on. Left foot now, as we can see, it's a lot more on the ground, more stable compared to where it was there. Your belt buckle hasn't gone round quite so far. You've reduced your hip turn a bit more, so you create a much more stable position. From there, now it's just arm speed through the golf ball as you swish through, rather than sort of rolling of the arms as you had before. That's actually a good movement. Head did sound a little longer, but that's not going to just go disappear straight away, no doubt. That will take a little bit, just having trust, but just allowing the body to come through with it. The head stays down, it reduces your arm speed because your head's sort of acting as a blocker there, okay? Whereas before, when you came back down, it did sound a lot longer, and that head's still down there after the shot. But when there's a lot of leg action in the golf swing, it may feel as, yes, for you, more powerful, but the control of that club isn't there, to be fair. And when you swung these clubs now with a shorter backswing, it just was a slightly smaller follow-through in comparison to where you were. Okay, that was your sort of full follow-through there. That was before follow-through. So you can still kind of get back to here if you want to. I'm going to sort of stop the club there, but just maintaining a little bit more of a sort of what feels to you a shorter backswing, but it still should feel fairly full. You're still rotating as far as you physically can, but you just can't rotate as far because your lower half's a bit more quieter in terms of that motion, rather than that left heel lifting off the ground, the hip turning.
So when I think I'm rotating, that adds nothing apart from
not really.
lack of control.
Exactly. I mean, there's a point you can go so far that you actually lose control rather than gain distance. Okay, and if you go beyond sort of 90, maybe 100 degrees ish, once you get beyond that, you've lost most of the control. Bringing that club back to the golf when it's travelled as far as it was, and the problem was as well as going across the line as well as over the top, that going pointing over there, is they're going to try and come back round from this direction, then come back down towards target. But to come back down towards target from there is going to be over the top, isn't it? Which then gave you this steep angle of attack, and then if you weren't careful, the arms are leaving the body, hitting those unmentionables. I think definitely when you got a shorter backswing, okay, we had two of the shanks where you try to you talk about more distance, and that's where you just try to lunge your body and lunge your shoulders. It's hands and arm speed we're trying to create, so we get club head speed. From here, the hands are going to drop and swish through. If we try to lunge the body or get too much body movement, the club slows down invariably a lot of times. So it's not trying to swing or twist more, just create more club head speed at the bottom. But that'll just come, I think, with a little more confidence when you go, actually, hit the golf ball pretty good. If you've been having them the last few weeks, confidence with an iron, any club with a hosel will be low. Okay, and that's the same with all clubs. Okay, driver through the bag, through your irons, to your wedges. Okay, the only change really with your drivers you do anyway is the ball's further forward slightly. That's the only real change, and obviously as a result of that, then your spine might be just tilted a little bit more at address. But we still rotate around that spine. We don't be swaying off the ball. We don't transfer weight by shifting. We just transfer force through to the right foot as you go back. You're just rotating and pressing into that foot rather than.
Where should my weight be? Is it on the balls of your feet?
Arch of your feet. If you're on the balls of your feet here now, you'll be very sort of top of you can't really rotate yet.
On the arch?
Yeah, basically in the middle where your laces are there.
Right.
As you would do when you stand up. If I was going to stand up here now, my weight sort of evenly balanced on through my feet there. I've got a forward weight. If I go onto my balls of my feet now, I could dive forward, but I can't really twist. I can't really do much. My hips.
And when I get to my backswing, where should it be then? Should it be on my heel? Or?
No. Just really, you rotate into your right side, really. Okay, so you rotate into your right foot there. Okay, if you try to go back onto your heel, a lot of people.
So keep it in the middle.
Just try and keep it in the middle. It will effectively rotate as you turn your hips back as you do. It will move a smidgen, But if you try to move to your right heel, in your mind, what you'll then do is this.
Yeah.
And you just go back too far automatically, because we're trying to reduce how much this hip goes back.
Just try and keep it in the middle.
Exactly. Just try to maintain, for me, more of a quieter lower half, so you can't go back quite as far.
Yeah.
The problem is, and this is why golf swing, you can't see a golf swing. It's a feeling to you. The golfers I teach who have no hip turn, so I definitely tell them, try and turn into your right heel on the way back to get that hip going back. But you're someone who has more than enough.
Yeah.
So if you try to go into that right heel, you're just going to keep going too far. Exactly. It's about maintaining, so your force now is into that right side, reducing how much your shoulders can turn, reducing how much your club can therefore go.
Yeah.
You're gaining more control. And then once you've got that control and strike, then you can just increase that arm speed to impact.
Practice
full swing.
Yeah. Just doing that.
Yeah, just the shorter the swing, or the shorter move with the lower half. In some ways, you can make some practice. Maybe just start with sort of your wedges and maybe your 9 a little bit, with almost like no legs at all.
Yeah.
Just try and really quiet the legs down. To be fair, though, you've made a pretty quick transformation with just that little change there. I mean, your length of backswing did change quite a bit, really, from what it was. If we look at your length of backswing to where it was, it's quite a big change, really, in terms of the grand scheme of things. Okay. Potentially, if again your arms can maybe go a little bit further, you might find it get a bit longer there, but I wouldn't need to go any further than that, really.
Yeah.
9-9's designed for control. If you get 9-9, 120, maybe 125, and know it's going to go that far every single time in 10 or 15 yards, your 7-iron's going 145, 150, and the 8-iron's going to be 135. Not sure, is it?
No.
Really. I'm not trying to hit your 9-9. I mean, yes, you could potentially try and...
I think my driving go, like 240-ish.
Very few will get that far. I doubt you will. But you average distance is anything around 200 yards is long. Average, yeah. Because people think, oh, I can hit one 240. You get a big bounce on the fairway when he goes that far. I think the tour pros, I mean, some of them are averaging up to the 300 mark, but the overall tour average is like 280. So you're going to be 40 yards behind the tours? Probably not.
Right.
I think most people try to get too much distance. And if you play the game of golf, any golf course, barring possibly Celtic 2010, but most courses around it, Radder, Whitchurch, here, Cardiff, if you walk down the fairway at 200 yards and drop the ball in the middle of the fairway at 200 yards and just play the holes from there on, and you score well.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
If you can get 220, 230, great, but if you start getting towards 240, because 240 average means by virtue of an average at 240, you're going to be in some 260, which is going to be a hell of a long way. Yeah. And that's the thing, if you then trying to get that extra distance,
which is probably why I've ended up where I am.
Because if you're going to miss hit one, and you get one at 180, 170, 180, 190 kind of thing, suddenly now to get your 240 average, you've really got to be trying to go for it. Yeah. So just try and maintain a much more consistent strike. For me, it's about hitting the ball better, rather than necessarily further or harder. And you'll get a little bit more distance the better you strike it, but it's about controlling where that golf ball is, rather than trying to get too much power. But most people try to get too much into their driver. Yeah. And in reality, what they actually hit the golf ball themselves is going to be a lot shorter than what they think. If we measure it to an exact yardage.
Yeah. Well, that's funny enough what this...
Exactly. Because you'll get someone there when you're on certain holes where you get a good one, it gets a bit of good bounce and run down and hill it down, when you might get it to 250, 240. But to do that every single time, average it every single drive, that's a perfect strike, which we're not going to get every time. So. Yeah. Okay, make sense?
Yeah.
Good man. Okay, right.